Prime Minister, Honorable the Speaker of the Parliament, the Honorable Ralph Ramkaran, Honorable Ministers, members of the Diplomatic Corps, ladies and gentlemen, I thank the GAWU for inviting me to participate in this important launching of the GAWU Labour College. Education is a very important feature in life today, and it has been for a long time. The Labour College is expected to give systematic instructions on the objectives and the functions of trade unions. It is intended to muster support both within the trade union movement and in the wider field. It is to provide an opportunity for those who are participating in its programs to study the past history of the GAWU so that any errors which were made in the past may not be repeated in the future, as well as to study the history of other trade unions for the same reason, and also to give good groundings on the system of socialism. When those who are participating in the work of this college come to study the history of their own union, they will be exposed to the vicissitudes of the sugar industry in the first case. The plantation overlords, how they exploited labor in this country, the system of colonialism, the exploitation of slaves and indentured laborers or indentured servants. These are matters which those who are studying at the college will certainly be exposed to, and which will be a great benefit for them. More particularly, they will be exposed to those who have made significant contributions in the development of the trade union itself and of trade unionism generally. And it will make them, I have no doubt, feel very proud that they are associated with a union, some of whose leaders have contributed immensely to the advance of trade unionism in Guyana and the development of our own country. Heading that list of those who struggled for the GAWU would be Dr. Cde Ashton. He devoted, I would say, his entire working life and energy to the workers' cause. He was ably assisted by his dear wife, who was an active figure in the political and social movement and the labor movement of this country. Dr. Jagan, as many of you certainly know, was first elected to the Legislative Assembly in 1947. And when he entered the Legislative Assembly, it was like a body that was like a church, sedate, orderly, and very peaceful and cooperative. Dr. Jagan took with him an aggressiveness into that assembly. He shook with vigor the solemnity of the Legislative Assembly to which we have been accustomed. and he advocated workers' rights. He did a lot to press not only for sugar workers, but also for shop assistants. And those who know his history well will know that at one time he was president also of the Sawmill Workers Union. When he was elected to the Legislative Assembly, he represented East Demerara, but at that time he was under a ban by the sugar producers not to go to visit his own constituency where sugar workers were. That did not frustrate him. He continued his struggle. Initially, he went into the MPCA, which since in the 30s, late 30s, was representing sugar workers. But when he failed to articulate the MPCA and to make it a fighting instrument on behalf of sugar workers, he resigned the office of president, of treasurer, which he held in that organization, and with Dr. Lakshman Singh established the GAWU, registered in 1940. The history of the trade union movement, which will be analyzed and studied here, in 1940 it was very significant. There were activities at what was then Mackenzie, bauxite industry, where both Dr. Jagan and his wife played an important role in the struggles that took place at Linden for recognition of the trade union movement. And he also was a leading figure in the struggles of the GIW for recognition. And they will see how the sugar producers and the administration, that is the government, collaborated and sought to exclude and keep out the GIW from being recognized as the union to represent sugar workers. Nonetheless, he continued his struggle, and those participating will learn that he was active in the establishment of the first working class party in this country, real working class party, the PPP, and headed the first government under universal adult suffrage in this country in 1953. His contribution and his work in the struggle by the Enmore workers in 1948 will be very significant, because even today we celebrate them, the Enmore martyrs, who were all executed on the 16th of June 1948 in their struggle not only for better conditions but also for the recognition of a trade union which had their backing and support. For many years, Dr. Jagan was the honorary president of the GAWU, and his struggles to bring about independence in this country is something that I believe will never be forgotten by present and even future generations of this country. It is a matter of some significance that the GAWU are opening their college in this very month, in which country is celebrating the birth of Dr. Cde Ashton. Also, remarkably making a contribution to the union was Dr. Lakshman Singh, who was the first president of the union and who went on to become a minister in the first government in 1953 of this country. But his relations with the union, although it continued, faltered because in 1955, I think it was, he aligned himself with the late LFS Barnum in forming a splinter group from the PPP. It was one of the great